So I've been covering Severance in its highly anticipated second season, and I'll be honest, I just kind of needed a break from Severance videos to give you a little peek into how the sausage is made, so to speak. When the show was airing, Apple would send screeners out on Monday, with the episodes actually airing Thursday night. Therefore, in a span of a few days, I would have to watch and rewatch and write my videos, rinse, repeat. Needless to say, it's a series that I'm happy that I love so much because for a while it took a decent chunk of my time. However, the same unfortunately can't be said about From, which is a show that is just endlessly frustrating to the point that I highly doubt I'm going to watch the next season. While both shows are vastly different story-wise, I'd say they both are mystery box style shows. And y'all probably know what I mean by mystery box show, but to sum up, it refers to a high concept piece of fiction whose overarching narrative is woven into a complex web filled with mysteries, secrets, and multi-interlocking subplots that eventually reveal a broader mythos that connects all the pieces together. The most famous example of this is J.J. Abrams' show Lost. Not shockingly, the producers of Lost also created From, and it also shares an actor. From tells the story of people that, while striving, find themselves in a mysterious town, and once there they cannot leave, either by car or by foot. They always end up back in the town. If that wasn't bad enough, at night creatures come out to savagely kill and even psychologically fuck with the residents. Boyd, the de facto sheriff of the town, is the one man keeping everybody in check and the creatures at bay. The strangeness factor goes way up when a family and an erratic genius find themselves in what is dubbed as From Town. Severance, on the other hand, is a workplace high concept sci-fi show with horror elements, but also plays up some humor and satire. Lumen, an evil corporation, has its workers severed, splitting their work self and home self, thereby creating two different people. A group of employees, or innies, are rebelling against Lumen, and a series of mysteries and weirdness begins to unfold. Both series couldn't be more different outside of the mystery box format. However, in this video, I want to make the case that the writers of Severance are able to fully utilize the mystery box angle better than From. First, let me say, I don't think the writing in From is bad. In fact, I think given the complex nature of the show and its emotional depth, the writing is sharp. From season 1 comes out fully formed in both concept and premise that is equal parts engaging, scary, and dramatic without being too cheesy. In my humble opinion, it's one of the few first seasons of a series that already has its shit together, worked out, thanks to some amazing writing. It blends the human drama and the mystery and horror elements into a well-rounded TV show. Not to mention the actors really bringing it all to devastating life. No, my biggest issue with From is the writers seem to take sadistic glee in the way it handles its mystery. The show is so dense with lore, and it isn't above throwing out a lot at you in a short amount of time. In the first season, this wasn't really an issue since the lore wasn't as complex and it was a little bit more of a straightforward horror drama. By season 2, however, the cracks began to form as we see the premise and lore get steadily more complicated. Season 3 is where a lot of fans start to feel the strain on all this dense lore and mysteries that only get piled onto one another. In From, we may get some nuggets of information only for it to lead to way more questions. Severance, on the other hand, presents mysteries, sure, yet the creators have established that they aren't the kind of show to litter everything with a series of mystery boxes. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, creator Dan Erickson made it clear that the answers that fans want are certainly high priority priority for him. Quote, "I know the big answer, the really big stuff I've known from the beginning. There are deviations along the ways in terms of how you get there. I've been lucky enough to talk to a lot of other showrunners, people who have done this before, and the common thread with those people is that it's a tightrope. You can overplan, and if you overplan, you can end up losing some of the spontaneity that makes it exciting, and you can feel like you're trying to tick boxes. If you underplan, then you can end up painting yourself into a corner, not knowing how to get out. It's a balance," end quote. And this is really fascinating. I love this quote, and I think it gets to the heart of why Severance is better at handling this aspect. Sure, it has its own mysteries and lore, but fans know they're going to get some answers. So I was doing a little bit of Reddit sleuthing and just kind of wanting to get some outside opinions, and I found this post that I thought was really interesting and worth sharing. Quote, "We still have no idea what's going on in the Severance universe, but we've received plenty of clues, and the snippets of information we've gotten thus far have been incredibly satisfying and logical. Plus, the characters are doing everything to figure it out, even if they're hindered by conflict, secrecy, and stupid mistakes. With From, there's much less problem solving, and it feels more like we're watching a series of events play out, and nothing can be done to change the course of events," end quote. This angle is interesting, and I think it's pretty spot on, and I think it's kind of tapping into why I'm feeling such a burnout from It's just not satisfying narratively because you don't really get a lot of clues and solvability like you do in Severance. Thus, it feels more like we're at the whim of the writers of From versus being actively let into that world. You might not always like or agree with the outcomes of the mysteries in Severance, but you can't say the writers didn't sprinkle enough clues and foreshadowing to make it feel earned. From also frankly suffers from too much going on, from various plot lines being dropped or seemingly not as important as they were built up to. Speaking of, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent, but this is, I think, tied into my big problem with From is Fatima's baby and the mysteries surrounding that. It was honestly a big reason why I was so invested in the last season. Like, a good chunk of this season was devoted to this mystery, and there was just so many interesting theories on what was going on with this baby, and we find out that it's just Smiley, a creature that was killed in a previous season, reborn. And I just think this was so lame. Like, it was so much build up that just didn't feel earned, satisfying, or anything that kind of adds to the larger narrative and lore. Now, compare this to how Severance handled the season 1 cliffhanger that Mark's wife Gemma is actually the severed wellness worker named Miss Casey. Season 2 expands Gemma / Miss Casey in a way that works to serve a larger story arc for Mark, Gemma, and Helly. It also answers one of the biggest questions from season 1, which is, what is Mark and his team refining? The clues and foreshadowing were there throughout, and again, it just made for a more satisfying conclusion. Now, I think saying From being a bit random in places, which is something that I've heard from other fans, is a little bit in bad faith, but the direction the show can find itself does feel a little all over the place. Sure, the puzzle pieces can be jammed in to fit, but that's not how a puzzle is put together. Which brings me back to that Reddit post, which I think really, again, nails my frustration with From. I don't really like comparing other movies or shows to one another. I think it's a little bit reductive, yet in doing so for this video, I think it helps illustrate the idea of mystery box shows and why they can be wholly rewarding and while others can be very frustrating, leading to rage quit. Another show that I think really does the mystery box show formula really well example is Yellowjackets, which just wrapped up its 3rd season and had a nice mixture of answering questions while also keeping some mysteries to keep one engaged for the upcoming season. Despite my issues with From, many critics love it, and it does have a devoted fan base. I mean, respect, because it managed to do huge things for MGM Plus, which I wouldn't say is a very big player in the streaming world right now. But I think you can overdo it with the mystery box within a mystery box within a mystery box way of writing, which is a shame because the hook of From is fantastic, and there are some moments in the series that I low-key still think about quite often. However, unless I hear some amazing things about next season, I'm probably going to be sitting this one out. On the other hand, whilst not as strong as season 1, Severance season 2 further cements why this is one of the greatest shows currently ongoing, and honestly, I don't even think that's a small amount of hyperbole. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you like From? Am I being a hater? Let me know, and please consider checking out some of these other videos, and I will see y'all in the next one.